when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer became a leading option to return to Manchester United. After the sacking of Ruben Amorim, it was not about nostalgia. It was not about tactics. It was not about formations. And it was not an attempt to rewrite the past. Because moments like this are never really about the individual. They are about the instinct a club follows when pressure builds. Manchester United have a long history of standing at the same crossroads, choosing between two impulses: control or courage, safety or risk, calm or identity. And every time that decision appears, it reveals what the club values most in that moment. This is not a story about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This is a story about why Manchester United, again and again, reach for familiarity when uncertainty sets in. This moment did not appear out of nowhere. It followed the end of Ruben Amorim's time at Manchester United, and that context matters far more than the name being discussed next. Because Amorim did not leave quietly. His exit was not just about results. It was not just about performances. And it certainly was not just about a formation. It exposed a deeper tension between the head coach or manager and the structure above him. A tension about authority, about risk, about how this club believes football should be played. And when those tensions surface publicly, clubs rarely respond with boldness. They respond with retreat. This is the phase where institutions stop asking, how do we move forward? And start asking, how do we stop this from escalating? That shift is subtle, but it is decisive. Because once a club enters damage control mode, every decision that follows is shaped by one priority above all else. Stability. Not progress, not evolution, stability. And that is the lens through which every conversation about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has to be understood. Not as a footballing statement, but as a reaction to what came before. Most debates about Manchester United get stuck in the same places. Formations, systems, shapes on a tactics board. But those arguments miss the real issue. Because the problem that finally separated Ruben Amorim from Manchester United was not structure. It was risk. Amorim's instinct was to manage danger, to protect leads, to slow games down. On paper, that is sensible football. But at Manchester United, it has always been dangerous. This club has never been comfortable trying to control chaos. It has always thrived by embracing it. When United score, the expectation is not consolidation, it is escalation. Score again and again. Force the issue. Keep the pressure on. And when that instinct disappears, the entire atmosphere changes. Old Trafford tightens. The players hesitate. The crowd turns restless. Because risk is not optional at Manchester United. It is the price of belief. And when a manager removes that belief, even with good intentions, the disconnect becomes impossible to ignore. That is why this conversation is happening now. Not because Amorim failed to organize this team, but because he tried to make it safe. If you strip away the eras, the formations, and the personnel, one thing has always remained consistent at Manchester United. Risk. Not recklessness, not chaos for the sake of it. Risk as belief. From Matt Busby to Sir Alex Ferguson, this club was built on the idea that you do not protect a lead by retreating. You protect it by asking another question. Can you stop us again? United teams have always looked most like themselves when they were chasing the next goal, not guarding the last one. When they trusted players to decide games, not systems to neutralize them. That is why Old Trafford reacts the way it does. Not because fans hate control, but because they recognize fear when they see it. Playing safe here feels wrong because it is wrong for this place. History has shown it over and over again. The loudest nights, the famous comebacks, the moments that define this club, they all came from risk. So when a manager's instinct shifts toward caution, even for logical reasons, the relationship starts to fracture. Because at Manchester United, safety is not reassuring, it is unsettling. And once that feeling takes hold, it does not matter how organized the team is, the connection is already slipping. This is where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer quietly enters the picture. Not as a solution, not as a master tactician, not as a long-term answer, but as a contrast. Because Ole never tried to remove risk from Manchester United, he leaned into it, even when his teams were imperfect, even when they were fragile, even when the margins were thin. There was always a sense that United were trying to win the game, not manage it. Go back to his time in charge, and one feeling comes back again and again: belief. You watched Ole's United thinking, they might concede, but they might score. That matters here more than any data point. Because at Manchester United, belief is currency. It keeps the crowd alive. It keeps players brave. It keeps the club recognizable. Ole understood that instinctively. He did not coach fear out of the team. He coached responsibility. Make a mistake, but make it trying to win. And in a club that has just recoiled from caution, that difference is powerful before a single decision is made on the touchline. Ole does not arrive changing the temperature. He arrives matching it. That is why his name lands differently. Not because of the past, but because of how Manchester United feel when they watch his teams play. This is the part of the conversation that rarely gets said out loud. After tension, clubs do not crave brilliance, they crave relief. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer understands the rhythms of Manchester United in a way that reduces friction. He knows the media cycle. He knows the dressing room dynamics. He knows when to absorb pressure instead of redirecting it. That matters more than people realize, because one of Ole's quiet strengths was never tactical genius. It was insulation. Criticism landed on him, not above him. Doubt was managed, not amplified. Problems were softened before they became headlines. For a club that has just lived through visible disagreement and internal strain, that is incredibly attractive. Ole does not arrive demanding authority. He does not arrive questioning structures. He does not arrive forcing uncomfortable conversations into public view. He arrives saying, "I'll take care of this." And in moments like these, that promise carries weight. This is not sentimentality, it is pragmatism. Manchester United are not choosing Ole because they believe he will transform them. They are choosing him because he lowers the temperature, but comfort comes with a cost. Because while calm buys time, it can also delay clarity. And that is the tension sitting quietly beneath this decision. Comfort solves problems quickly, but it does not always solve the right ones. That is the hidden risk in turning back to someone familiar. Because when a club chooses calm over confrontation, it often delays the questions that actually matter. At Manchester United, familiarity has a habit of softening urgency. It buys breathing room, it quiets the noise, it steadies the mood, but it can also slow momentum. Structural issues pause instead of being addressed. Standards become flexible instead of fixed. Short-term peace starts to feel like progress. And that is where clubs drift. This is not a criticism of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It is a reality of how institutions behave under pressure. Ole stabilizes environments. He humanizes situations. He keeps things together. But Manchester United do not just need things held together. At some point, they need to be resolved. The danger is not that familiarity fails. The danger is that it works just well enough to delay the harder decisions. Because when a club feels calmer, it becomes easier to convince itself that clarity can wait. And at Manchester United, waiting has a long history. When clubs reach for familiarity, it is rarely because they believe the answer is already there. It is because they need time to find the right one. This is the context in which Ole Gunnar Solskjaer makes sense for Manchester United. Not as a destination, as a bridge. Recent years have taught this club a hard lesson. Rushed decisions create longer problems. Quick fixes become expensive mistakes. So the instinct now is caution. No long-term commitment, no ideological leap, no structural overhaul under pressure, just stability while the bigger picture is worked out. Ole offers that without forcing the club into another corner. He buys space, he buys calm, he buys time. And time is the one thing Manchester United have been chasing since certainty disappeared. But time is only valuable if it is used well, because a pause can be preparation, or it can be procrastination. And that difference will define whether this decision helps Manchester United move forward or keeps them standing still. This is where expectations usually become unrealistic, because if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer were to step back into Manchester United, success would not look like a title charge, it would not look like tactical reinvention, and it would not look like long-term answers. Success would be quieter than that. It would look like belief returning, players taking responsibility instead of hiding, games feeling alive again even when they are imperfect, It would look like Manchester United trying to win matches, not simply survive them. The noise around the club would lower. The atmosphere would soften. The pressure would feel manageable again. That is the role. Not to solve everything, but to make the environment playable again. Anything beyond that would be a bonus. And this is important, because if success is measured by trophies or transformation, disappointment is guaranteed. If success is measured by clarity, stability, and identity, then the role suddenly makes sense. Ole's value, in this context, is not what he builds. It is what he allows the club to prepare for next. Every decision Manchester United make eventually circles back to the same question. Not who the manager is, not which system they play, not how patient the plan sounds, but who this club chooses to be under pressure. Because when things are calm, everyone talks about vision. When things are difficult, instincts take over. Do you lean into discomfort, risk, and confrontation? Or do you seek familiarity, calm, and control? Neither choice is automatically wrong, but choosing comfort again and again eventually becomes a pattern. If Manchester United ever turn back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it will not be a mistake, and it will not be a solution. It will be a mirror, a reflection of a club pausing between what it has been and what it wants to become. Whether that pause leads to clarity or simply delays it depends on what happens next. Not on the touchline, but above it. Because managers come and go, systems change, eras pass. But until Manchester United decide whether they value safety or courage most when it really matters, this conversation will keep returning, with different names, in different moments, for the same reasons. And that, more than anything, is the real story. I'm curious where you stand on this. Should Manchester United choose comfort or courage when it matters most?